Bullets rain down as both sides exchange heavy gunfire. Furious, Merriman shoots a sheriff in the leg before pushing forward.
I want to put that seatbelt on.
Welcome to Cephastock Movie Recaps. Today we delve into the details of Den of Thieves 1 full movie recap. If you're new to this channel, please do subscribe and let us know where you're watching from in the comments section. Your support is greatly appreciated, my dear friend. Thank you. As the movie begins, it's noted that Los Angeles sees countless bank robberies each year, earning it the title of Bank Robbery Capital of the World. At 5:14 a.m. in Gardena, a Brinks armored money truck stops for breakfast. Two vehicles block it in. Armed men in body armor move fast. A guard, frozen in fear, hesitates to act. The driver panics, fumbling his Nextel.
Now!
Robbers yank him out. A shaking officer flinches. A robber fires, ending him instantly. The robber blasts open the truck's doors, dragging a guard out. Police arrive, gunfire erupts and bullets ping off metal and pavement. The robbers fire back, killing some officers. But unfortunately, one of them is hit, dropping down. Amid the chaos, the robbers overpower the cops. Smoke grenades roll out, hiding their escape.
Let's go!
They pile into a small vehicle, hijack the armored truck, and speed off. With Mac guiding them through a tunnel,
Take the second left into the tunnel.
they reach their hidden destination, disappearing without a trace.
Go right on Donnie.
As they arrive, they rip off their masks. Donnie, Ensign, and their leader, Merriman. Furious,
What's that?
Merriman scolds Bosco for firing first and hitting a cop. Donnie checks the armored truck, while Ensign calms Merriman, reminding him they knew the risks. He orders Bosco to return and check the crime scene. Seeing the empty truck, Merriman realizes they're now cop killers.
We're cop killers now.
At 6 a.m. in San Pedro, Nick Flanagan pulls into a quiet suburban street. Lowering the radio, he parks and heads to the back of the house. The pantry door won't budge, so he pries open a window, squeezing through. Moving quietly into the kitchen, he grabs a milk carton from the fridge, gulping it down while checking his phone. Then he freezes.
Can't do that.
Debbie, exhausted and fed up, asks Nick where he's been at 6 a.m. He stammers, nervous. She steps closer, holding her phone up. His mistaken text meant for his side chick.
Text me instead.
Busted. Nick freezes, speechless. Debbie's eyes fill with tears as she walks away. Debbie guides their daughters, McKenna and Cassidy, down the stairs and out the door. The girls, half asleep, look confused. Nick rushes to stop her, whispering, but she ignores him.
You understand me?
She's leaving, taking the kids, and there's nothing left to say. Nick watches in silence as they disappear. The house feels empty. He sinks into a chair, rubbing his face, reality sinking in. His phone buzzes, snapping him back. He steps into chaos. Ambulances, shell casings, and bodies.
Morning, fellow officers.
The regulators, Los Angeles Sheriff's Metro Robbery Homicide Unit, stand over a dying robber. Ruthless but skilled, they blur the line between cops and criminals.
Dealing with a different animal here, boys.
As they investigate the empty armored truck, Bosco secretly captures photos nearby. Big Nick tells his team to regroup at the office. The regulators nod and leave as La Bin Bob Golightly arrives.
Original gangster cop in the flesh.
Sharp, relentless, a Fed who never misses a detail. He's the kind of guy cowboys like Nick hate.
Aside from the fact you're a vegetarian.
They trade sarcastic jabs before parting ways. Bosco updates Merriman on the crime scene, noting the cops handling the case. It's important to know who they're up against so they can prepare for whatever comes next. At the LA Sheriff's Department,
Who's running this crew?
the regulators sit amid takeout boxes and crime books. A wall of suspect photos surrounds them. Nick leads the team, piecing together clues, still no clear ID on the gang's leader. Donnie, a bartender from Merriman's crew, impresses regulars with his uncanny ability to remember names and orders. As closing time approaches, Donnie approaches the last patron, Big Nick.
Kind of neutral grounds, you know.
He's eager to clean up and leave, but Nick finishes his beer and walks out.
See you later, man.
Donnie heads to his car, ready to go, but suddenly Nick punches him in the face, knocking him out unconscious before he even knows what hit him. Donnie slowly wakes up in a strange motel room, disoriented. As he rubs his eyes, he sees Big Nick and a woman stumbling out of the room. His heart skips a beat. The only exit is through the door Nick went through, but more giggles come from the next room. To his shock, he sees the regulators, Nick's crew, drinking, smoking, and behaving far from professional. Donnie tries to deny being involved, but Nick pulls out an 8x10 surveillance photo.
We're not mistaking you for anybody.
Donnie freezes. It's him standing next to Merriman. The regulators don't play by the rules. They're known for using extreme methods, including kidnapping and torture.
Don, do we look like the types who'll arrest you?
At first, Donnie tries to downplay the situation, but soon realizes they aren't joking. They demand answers about his ties to Merriman and his plans. In a tense moment, Donnie spills everything he knows. Apparently, Ray had just been released from prison when he crossed paths with Donnie.
See you soon, Ray.
After a quick chat, Ray saw potential in him. He asked Donnie to prove his driving skills with a speed test.
I want to put that seatbelt on.
Donnie nailed it perfectly, impressing Ray with his sharp reflexes and precision. Impressed, Ray recruited Donnie as the driver for a job. The plan went off without a hitch. After successfully robbing some money, they spent hours making sure it was untraceable. Once the count was done, Ray suggested a new deal of robbing even more clean, untraceable cash. Marcus a little skeptical but accepted.
Let's do it.
Meanwhile, Donnie finished his story, and the sheriffs believed him but told him to keep going.
Now you just keep doing your thing.
He boarded a bus to head home, but soon received a call from Ray, asking him to meet up. As Nick walks in a grocery store, he sees his wife and kids, but he gets stuck, unable to approach. Merriman and his crew pick up Donnie, driving through the city as Merriman reveals an ambitious plan, stealing $30 million in old, untraceable bills from the Federal Reserve. He lays it out clearly, pointing to the looming Los Angeles branch of the Federal Reserve Bank. The Fed is wired top to bottom, that many people have tried breaking in, but not one made it past the lobby.
Got past the lobby.
At the sheriff's department, Nick strategizes with his team on tracking the robbers. Meanwhile, Merriman lays out the risks. Cameras, motion detectors, and plate readers can flag anyone suspicious. Stare too long or return twice, and the Secret Service will take notice. They study the Federal Reserve. With $50 to $85 billion inside, security is airtight. Guards control access, and the vault, 5 floors below, is fully automated. But Merriman sees the weakness. Every day, unfit bills are erased from the system and destroyed.
If we can get to those unfit bills.
If they grab the cash before it's destroyed, they'll walk away with millions in untraceable money.
We solve all these cases.
As the sheriff's department wraps up, Merriman lays out the final steps, showing his crew exactly how they'll break in and pull it off.
11 o'clock.
But first, Donnie gets a delivery job at a tough Chinese woman's restaurant.
I suggest you take these.
Meanwhile, as Nick and his guys head to their cars, a suited man hands him divorce papers and quickly walks away. Stunned, Nick freezes. He silently reads the papers behind the wheel. Donnie takes note of the surrounding areas. At the warehouse, the crew studies power schematics. Merriman plans to simulate a fake blackout to bypass security.
Where'd you get all this information from?
Ensign questions him, but Merriman hesitates. He doesn't like being questioned.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Donnie starts his job delivering Chinese food to Fed employees. Nick and his team watch from a distance.
ID.
Wearing a Fed ID, Donnie greets the guards, gets searched, and walks through security. In the cafeteria, he collects cash, jokes with employees, then heads to the men's bathroom.
Dessert.
Inside, he opens the ceiling vent and hides an extra takeout bag inside before slipping out unnoticed. Meanwhile, Big Nick and his team discuss their strategies. Later, Ensign's daughter gets ready for her school dance as her date arrives. Before they leave, Ensign pulls the nervous boy aside, introducing him to Merriman and the crew.
Oh, let me talk to you.
The group watches him closely, their serious expressions making it clear he'd better treat her right.
I gotta hand you that responsibility.
The boy nods quickly, clearly intimidated.
Yes, sir. It's all right, it's all right.
As soon as he steps out, the crew bursts into laughter, enjoying the little prank. Later that evening, Merriman and his crew eat at a restaurant. Donnie suddenly stiffens. Big Nick and the regulators just walked in. He keeps his head down, but Nick spots him and heads over. Nick greets Donnie, pretending they met at the gym. Donnie plays along. Merriman stays silent, eyes locked on Nick. The tension builds.
55, right? That's how I remember.
Nick pushes further, bringing up old soccer days. Merriman just gazes at him. Finally, a cop calls Nick away.
See you at the gym, Donnie.
Merriman glares at Donnie, suspicion growing. Moving back to their hideout,
Are you?
Merriman and Ensign corner Donnie, guns drawn. They frisk him for wires, then Ensign lands a hard punch to his gut. Donnie swears he hasn't talked, insisting Nick already knows them.
He came to me, he knows you.
After a tense moment, Merriman studies him, relaxes, and tells him to just make sure Nick knows. It's on Friday.
Make sure he knows it's on.
Nick, drunk and uninvited, stumbles into a small gathering at Debbie's sister's house. With a smirk, he grabs the divorce papers, signs them with exaggerated flair, and slams them down. But he's not done. Spotting Debbie's new boyfriend, he gets loud, throwing jabs and making a scene. Tension rises fast. Debbie's brother steps in, trying to push him out. Nick glares, sways slightly, then scoffs. With one last look at Debbie, he stumbles out the door. The next day, at a boutique, Nick and his crew lounge around when Donnie storms in, furious. He accuses Nick of exposing him at the bar. They tell him to relax. Then he spills the big news: the robbery is set for Friday.
Better wear your best.
He warns. Merriman's plan is unfolding perfectly. Later that day, Nick walks into a target practice room where Merriman and his crew are training. They see him but act unfazed, focused on their shooting. Merriman confidently shows off his skills, then gathers their bags and leaves. Nick studies Merriman's target sheet, realizing just how dangerous he is. Lost in his failed marriage, Nick drinks at a club, meeting Holly. At Holly's apartment that morning, Merriman walks in, catching Nick off guard. Big Nick, shirtless, locks eyes with Merriman. A tense moment. Nick quickly pulls on his clothes, grabs his gun, and leaves.
Rivera Savings, Montebello Town Center.
He informs his crew about the location of the heist, unaware it's a trap. Merriman had instructed Holly to feed Nick false information, setting him up perfectly. On Friday, at Holly's apartment, Merriman sits quietly on the bed, watching her sleep. Without a word, he slips out, ready to set their plan in motion. At Ensign's house, he walks over to his daughter at the dining table and asks if her boyfriend is treating her well. He hugs her tightly, showing his love, before she heads out with her friends.
Love you too.
Nick pulls up to the elementary school. The playground is full of kids at recess, a tall fence keeping him out. He calls out his daughter, fingers gripping the fence as they talk. He makes promises he can't keep. When the bell rings, she runs off.
Miss me?
Nick walks back to his car, stares blankly, then breaks down. For the first time in years, he cries deeply. Slowly, he regains control and drives away. At the warehouse, Donnie arrives as Merriman and his crew load their magazines. On the other side, Nick enters and finds his team gearing up for the fight ahead. Merriman teaches Donnie how to hit his target with precision, while Nick and his men suit up, securing their body armor and weapons. Later in Montebello, Nick's team watches from across the street as the masked suspects step out in broad daylight, fully armored and ready. As they storm inside, Ensign shoots out the cameras and kills the overhead lights, throwing the bank into chaos. Panic spreads, people gasp, some drop to the floor. The robbers quickly assure them they're only after the money.
And put your hands in the air!
They gather all phones, cuff the hostages, and take control.
You guys go ahead and get comfortable.
Outside, Nick's team watches, tracking Merriman's every move.
Get up.
Inside, the bank manager is pulled aside, forced to relay demands: 10 million in unmarked bills and a chopper within an hour, or hostages will die. As the call goes out, Nick signals his team to hold back. The police were already mobilizing, but his silent order stops them. Fed Officer Bob, frustrated, confronts Nick for being there but doing nothing, but Nick chastises him for interrupting their crime scene. The robbers force the manager to open the vault while also speaking to the police negotiator. Frustrated by delays, they shoot a hostage, making things worse. Nick loses it, furious at Bob for involving a negotiator. He struggles to figure out Merriman's true plan. Meanwhile, the negotiator tries to reason with them, but the bank manager, under pressure, delivers a firm message: no more calls until their demands are met.
Don't call back.
Outside, tension rises as Nick watches, unsure of what's coming next. As Nick struggles to think, Merriman appears at the window, removes his mask, and calls Nick's private phone.
How the hell are you gonna get out of this one?
He taunts him, proving he's in control. Although Nick warned him, he didn't bring cuffs. There's no arrest, no negotiation. The only way this ends is by taking Merriman down. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the vault, shaking the entire building into silence. Meanwhile, Mac listens as the Alameda manager contacts the Federal Reserve, confirming the Pico Rivera savings drop for Wednesday. Moments later, Mac calls the Federal Reserve himself, pretending to be the manager. He claims he forgot to schedule today's drop. Luckily, they accept it without question. Meanwhile, Nick and his team study the area map closely. To his shock, he realizes the bank is connected to a sewer tunnel.
Hey!
Bob waits for clearance on the robber's chopper request, but Nick loses patience and breaks down the bank door. Inside, they find only blindfolded hostages. The robbers are gone. In the back room, an explosion has blasted open the ground, revealing the tunnel they used to escape. Without hesitation, Nick follows the trail. He races to the tunnel's end, but it's too late. The robbers have already slipped away.
45, that's in 2 minutes.
As we speak, Mark is directing them to drop off the money from Pico Rivera savings at the Federal Reserve accounts receiving. Now, here's the twist you need to know. The robbers needed cash from Pico Rivera Savings Bank so they could make a drop-off at the Federal Reserve. That was the only way to get inside the Federal building, using the armored truck they stole at the beginning of the movie. Remember, their target is to steal the untraceable old bills from the Federal Reserve. After completing check-ins, they unload the money from their truck for processing. Acting inexperienced, they explain their delay was due to traffic. Moving to the next section, they meet Luigi, the accountant, who registers them under strict security orders. Meanwhile, Bosco hurries toward the Federal Reserve's power supply, preparing to trigger a blackout. Everything is falling into place. Nick rushes back, leaving the crime scene to Bob and his FBI team. Inside, the cash count begins while delivery officers wait in a nearby chamber. Hidden in a money box, Donnie listens as communication flows smoothly. Suddenly, Bosco cuts the power, stopping the counting machines. Blackouts happen often, so security isn't alarmed. Workers exit, waiting for power to return. Merriman instructs Donnie to activate the EMP, disrupting the nearby camera inside the chamber. A security officer notices the glitch but can't access the room, so he calls Luigi, who's having his meal. Ensign jams the radio signals, cutting off communication and forcing the officer to find Luigi in person.
Syria, go ahead and get him.
This gives Donnie the perfect chance to grab the untraceable old bills marked for shredding. He stuffs them into bags and tosses them into the garbage chute. As the officer returns with Luigi,
You're hot mic.
Donnie sneaks out through the air ducts. When Luigi checks the room, everything seems in order. Nothing appears missing.
What am I looking for?
Moments later, Bosco restores the power.
Cut out.
The plan unfolds perfectly, leaving no trace of the heist behind. Nick and his team drive through the city, hunting for the robbers. Meanwhile, inside the Federal Reserve, Luigi confirms the cash count is correct, but something feels off.
But both of your bins were half full.
Both cash bins are only half full. Outside, a garbage truck picks up the trash just as Donnie crawls out of the air ducts into the washroom. He retrieves an old bag of food he had hidden in the bathroom ceiling days earlier. At the same time, Merriman and Ensign move steadily toward the exit, preparing to leave the building. Donnie takes the cold, stale food and delivers it to a Federal Reserve employee who orders Chinese food daily. Sweating and nervous, he quickly leaves. The security guards notice he was never signed in but, unsure of what to do, let him go.
Thank you.
Moments later, the employee tastes the food and realizes something is wrong. He alerts security, but by then Donnie has vanished. Outside, the stolen cash leaves the Federal Reserve hidden in a waste management truck used to transport shredded bills. Bosco hijacks the truck, leaving the driver stunned and confused. Meanwhile, Nick and his team catch up to Donnie, seizing him and beating him until he reveals Merriman's location. At their destination, Merriman and his crew unload the stolen cash.
Let's get it done as quick as we can, huh?
But Donnie, after taking too many hits, gives up their location.
Give it a burner phone.
That's the rally point.
Hearing everything, Merriman, Ensign, and Bosco prepare to flee with their bags of stolen money. Nick spots them and immediately pursues.
Eyes on suspects.
But they hit a traffic jam. Trapped with nowhere to go, they spot Nick's team closing in.
You see that?
Realizing there's no escape, they strap on their body armor, ready for a fight.
Come on, Vest.
Nick gives the order, headshots only.
Shots limb and headshots only.
As they move civilians out of the way, Merriman and his crew open fire.
Stay down. Department, stay down.
Bullets rain down as both sides exchange heavy gunfire. In the chaos, Bosco is hit and dies instantly. Furious, Merriman shoots a sheriff in the leg before pushing forward. Ensign is also killed in the crossfire. Now alone, Merriman shoots another officer and takes off running. Nick chases him, narrowly dodging bullets. Merriman jumps a fence, but Nick fires, hitting him in the side. His body armor doesn't cover that area. He stumbles to the ground, injured but still trying to fight. He weakly raises his gun at Nick, but before he can shoot, Nick fires again. Merriman collapses, bleeding out. As Nick approaches, he realizes Merriman's gun is empty. He never had a chance. Meanwhile, Sheriff Henderson says his final goodbyes to Ensign, who dies from his wounds. The fight is over. Nick catches his breath, but something isn't right. Donnie has disappeared, escaping custody without a trace. Even more shocking, checking the back of their truck, he finds nothing but shredded paper. The real money is gone.
1,000 of them?
Bob praises Nick's work but expresses sorrow for their fallen officer.
You know everything was accounted for at the Fed, right?
Back at the office, Nick, still processing everything, stares at Donnie's image, realizing the real mastermind may have just slipped away. Nick visits Donnie's bar, searching for him.
Hey, is Donnie around?
The owner tells him Donnie quit days ago.
Shit, he quit.
Sitting down for a drink, Nick glances around and freezes. Photos of Donnie with the heist crew hang on the wall. Stepping outside, he looks across the street at the Federal Reserve and realizes the shocking truth. Donnie was the mastermind all along. In a flashback, Donnie had researched and recruited Merriman, letting him to be in charge. But after the crew's downfall, Donnie vanished, taking all the stolen cash for himself. Meanwhile, in London, Donnie works at a bar while his crew drinks nearby, celebrating their success. A man from a shop across the street enters. Donnie serves him, casually asking if he works at the Diamond Exchange next door.
Beer's on me.
When the man says yes, Donnie smiles and hands him a free beer. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to our channel if you haven't and let us know where you're watching from in the comments section. Your support is greatly appreciated, my dear friend. Feel free to click on the next video. Thank you.